Huge changes are coming to Overwatch's crowd control abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Salosa. Thank you very much for coming along to check out this video. All right, let's get stuck into this. So Jeff has been active on the forums detailing the upcoming experimental card changes. These are to stuns, these are to crowd controls, but there's also a buff to Roadhog. So let's do this. This is what Jeff says. Later this afternoon, we will be deploying changes to the experimental card, hopefully. I wanted to give you a little insight to the changes that we are trying. The term crowd control, or CC, is used to refer to abilities that heroes can do to other heroes that cause them to lose control of their character. Examples include Mei's ability to freeze you, Reinhardt knocking you down with Earth Shatter, or getting stuck in Junkrat's trap. All right, cool. So I'm not going to put all of the remaining text on the screen because there's a lot of stuff in this post, guys. We're just going to break it down and then we're going to go into detail on it. But yeah, that statement of Jeff there, totally fine. This is Blizzard looking at crowd control abilities. I don't think anybody really likes having the ability to move taken away from them. It is highly frustrating. This is one of the reasons why Mei, Doomfist, these are seen as incredibly annoying heroes to play against, and they get a lot of hate from the community at times because they stop you doing what you want to do, and then they probably kill you. Especially Doomfist just comes out of nowhere, knocks you up in the air, and kills you. It doesn't feel great. Same for Mei. Comes in, freezes you. It doesn't feel great. But Mei has seen a whole host of nerfs recently that have reduced the power of a wall, reduced the power of a freeze. It just loads of stuff has come into Mei. So clearly Blizzard are trying to sort this out. But the cool thing is here, see what I did there? That was actually terrible. No, I take that back. That was actually terrible. I should edit that out. Actually, no, I'm just going to leave it in. It was terrible. It was so bad. You guys know it was terrible. Oh, my God. But yeah, Blizzard are looking at crowd control. So this is huge. All right, Jeff goes on to say, in Overwatch, we need to walk a fine line with crowd control abilities. On the one hand, we are a highly competitive first-person shooter. On the other hand, one of the defining things about Overwatch is the fact that our heroes have amazing abilities and mobility. We understand that crowd control abilities can cause a lot of frustration. Anytime control is taken away from you, it generally doesn't feel good. And exactly, yeah, I agree with this. I don't think anyone is going to disagree with it. It does not feel great when you are froze, you can't do anything, you get shot in the head by a Mei, and you're absolutely dead. It doesn't feel great. Just like it doesn't feel great when a massive Doomfist flies in off the top ropes, knocks you up in the air, primary fires, punches you, does whatever, destroys you. It doesn't feel great. So yeah, good stuff. All right, let's move on. And we will get onto the actual specific change details in a second, guys. I just want to go over what Jeff says because I think it's important to have this out there before we look at the changes, because we get to sort of see behind the veil, get into the mind of the developers, which is incredible and awesome stuff to behold. Okay, let's move on. So these experiments are targeted at certain heroes, specifically at their crowd control abilities, with the intent being that they will affect you less and have a lower overall impact on the game. The one exception on this round of experiments is Roadhog. We actually want to try and buff his ult a little bit to make it more impactful. It's not as much of a pure buff as it might seem at first. While you will knock enemies back more, you're also likely to push them out of damage more unless you corner them. Cool stuff there. So we're getting a little bit of a Roadhog buff in all of these CC changes. Internally, we have some bigger ideas about crowd control for Overwatch 2 and are trying some experiments that we are not able to bring to the experimental card, more fundamental and larger changes. All right, this is actually really cool here because Jeff doesn't need to say this, and he comes out and he says it, and he's straight up saying, look, guys, we're going to probably make big changes in Overwatch 2. We've got some amazing ideas. I'd like to know what these ideas are. Jeff, if you want to come back and make another post in the forums, then do it, because we'd like to see what these ideas possibly could be. But it seems that what they're going to try and do here is speed up the game in experimental and see how that actually works out. Because Overwatch is a pretty fast game, especially if you guys have been playing other games recently. Like, I've been playing quite a bit of Valorant. It's a very slow game for a lot of the game. Yeah, action explodes when the fights kind of break out. But Overwatch is generally much quicker all of the time. And then when you get slowed down, it doesn't feel great. So reducing CC even, means that the game speed increases, all right? And this actually goes in line with some changes they actually were talking about before, that is trying to speed up the flow of matches and make games quicker. So it seems like Blizzard are trying to make everything quicker, everything more fluid, everything more dynamic. All right, let's move on. We'll see how this round goes, and we'd love feedback. Hopefully, we can put some of these changes live if the test goes well. All right, cool. So this is them saying some of these changes could actually be useful, but they're going to see what happens with the testing. Okay, so let's get stuck into the changes. Roadhog to begin with. Whole hog knockback increased by 20%. Now, that is massive. I mean, this is going to turn his ultimate into a massive area denial weapon. He is going to hit you with this. You are going to fly away. This could be really good for pushing people off payloads in overtime, pushing people off capture points in overtime. It could be incredible. Now, of course, Hog is still very vulnerable when he does this. He can't heal. He can be subjected to crowd control himself. He could be hooked out of it. Flashbang maybe if McCree could get behind him. Put to sleep by an Anadot. There's a lot of problems with his ultimate, but that's fine. You know, if an ultimate's powerful in one way, but then can be countered in other ways, that's a really good ultimate. So this is interesting. This means that probably it's going away from this heavy damage kind of thing, which to be honest, it still knocks you back quite far anyway right now, to being a pure knockback area clearing weapon. Unless, like Jeff said, you get caught, you catch someone in the corner and just destroy them. Then in that case, yeah, it's still going to destroy them. All right, that's pretty cool. So we move on to Reinhardt. Now, all of the rest are nerfs. Okay, so Reinhardt changes. Earth Shatter knockdown duration lowered from 3 to 2.5 seconds. This is 0.5 seconds less. So when you get hit with Earth Shatter, you will only be on the ground for 2.5 seconds. Now, again, on paper, this doesn't sound massive. It actually is, though. Think about what happens in a big shatter. We're talking of like a massive fat shatter. You get a lot of the team down. This means you probably won't be able to do as much damage to the guys on the ground as you would before, because that extra half a second is a long time. I've got visions of playing McCree, firing away into, like, I don't know, an Anna who's on the ground. I reload, and then I maybe start shooting the Ashe who's by her. I might have time to do that on live, whereas in experimental, the Ashe might get back up, and then things start happening again. So this is an interesting one. I'm a Reinhardt player, so I don't know, like, I like to shout how it was. I don't know, but I think this is probably okay. Again, it speeds up the game, right? All right, let's move on to Sigma. So Sigma's an interesting one. So Accretion, this is the rock. Knockdown duration is now a fixed 0.8 seconds instead of scaling with distance, because the way this used to work is the further you threw the thing, so if you yeeted it across the map and it hit someone, it would knock them down on the ground longer than if you threw it into somebody's face point blank. Now, this is simpler to understand. It's always going to be 0.8 seconds, which I think is probably okay. Cast time has been reduced, though, so a little bit of a buff here from 0.75 to 0.65 seconds. So that's the Sigma changes. McCree. Flashbang stun duration lowered from 0.85 to 0.7 seconds. This is an interesting one because they've messed with Flashbang before a while ago. Flashbang and McCree, that's his sort of, like, you go back to the Tracer McCree 1v1. Tracer can kill the McCree if McCree whiffs his Flashbang. McCree lands the Flashbang, headshot, dead. The problem is, now he's got less time to get the headshot, so it makes things faster. And this is, I think, a pretty decent nerf to McCree. Again, if you're getting super close to McCree and he's flashbanging you probably should be punished for that. So it's interesting that they've gone back and looked at reducing the overall duration of the flashbang. Interesting stuff. All right, let's move on to May. So May, okay, again, gets another nerf. Remember, this is all experimental, though, guys. This isn't actually on the live server. Well, it is. You can play it on the experimental card, but it's not in the game, so to speak. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on. May, Endothermic Blaster. Freeze stun duration lowered from 1.5 to 1.3 seconds. Blizzard duration lowered from 5 to 4.25 seconds. Now, I am a little bit disappointed here with these changes because I thought they were going to look at multi-freeze. And in fact, I could kind of get a feeling that they were going to look at just multiple freezing or multiple crowd control from different heroes anyway, and maybe reduce that sort of impact on the game. And May would be the ideal starting point where you say, look, instead of freezing multiple targets with your primary fire, now you just freeze the first target you hit and other targets just get slowed, for example. But then again, think of the other changes that May has had recently with reduction in ammo for her primary fire. So yeah, all of this goes hand in hand. This is pretty huge, though. This really does reduce the power of May quite a bit. So we're going to have to wait and see how this actually plays out on the experimental card. Anna also gets nerfed, so sleep duration is lowered from 6 to 5 seconds. This is 1 second less of sleep duration, but this is still 5 seconds, and 5 seconds in Overwatch of no movement is an absolute Eon. If you are hit with this, you are still going to get destroyed. This isn't as bad as the other changes, I don't think. Not to say they're bad, I just mean it's like severe. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I don't mean bad. Often, like, I've noticed when I say things in videos, sometimes I'm not too clear with what I mean. Like, I say something and it means something else and people take it out of context. I'm like, guys, that's not what I meant, but I can't help it once it's been said. But I don't mean a bad as in a bad design decision. I just mean it's not as severe. So, yeah, the Ana one, it's still 5 seconds. Don't worry too much about that. And finally, Brig. So, Brigitte shield bash stun duration lowered from 0.75 to 0.65 seconds. So, again, a reduction in the stun. So, what do you guys think about all of this? I want to know in the video comments below, because this is interesting. This is, and I need to really stop saying that. It just literally doesn't mean anything. It's interesting. These are funky. Let's go for funky. These are funky changes because it's all about speeding up the game. Will this make the game feel more dynamic? Will it make the game feel, or make certain characters feel less oppressive to play against because they're removing your ability to move and to act and to take actions and use your own abilities? What is the really interesting, I've said it again, I apologize, bit of this entire thing from Jeff is I'll read this again because it's the Overwatch 2 bit. Internally, we have some bigger ideas about crowd control for Overwatch 2 and trying some experiments we are not able to bring to the experimental card. More fundamental and larger changes. So I really want to know what they are, and I really, really want to know the direction they're looking to take this in Overwatch 2. But maybe we can reverse engineer some of that from the changes that we're seeing now on the experimental card. All right, guys, thank you for watching the video. It's been a pleasure, as always, to make these videos for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.